She's the lead singer of an indie punk band from Atlanta. They were an alternative press artist to watch in 2021, and their debut album, Triggered, is out on August 16th on all platforms. Please welcome Tyler-Simone Molton of Lesibu Grand to the podcast. How are you doing today?
Thank you so much for that introduction. I'm doing great. Happy to be here. And as you said, super excited about the album that's upcoming in less than a month now. So yeah, August 16th is the day. It's August 3rd already, which is crazy to think.
Yeah.
It was just New Year's
Like,
Eve.
yeah, no, like the year as a whole is going by quick, but especially like summer, I feel like it was just like it's been, I guess, almost 2 months now, or almost 3 months since I got out of school, and it's felt like a month, like it's just
Literally.
going so fast. Um, I've
Time
already
flies
been
when you're
like,
having fun.
yeah, exactly. I've already been planning like my return to school, and I was like, no, it can't be that time already.
Yeah, I was surprised that like the elementary and grade school kids were starting school already because I remember when I was going through that phase of life, it was like a little bit later in the summer. Like I feel
Yeah,
like summer
yeah.
just
I feel like it was
started.
always like July and August are like almost blocked
Summer
off. Like
months.
these are the summer months. Yeah. Awesome.
Exactly.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, for you going back a little bit to like getting into music and finding a passion for it, was there any like first moment or first experience that really told you that music was something you wanted to pursue?
Yes, definitely. Since a young age, actually, speaking of grade school, since I was like 6 years old, I would probably pinpoint the day of realization, if you were to call
Yeah.
it that. Was just like me singing in the car with my sister and my mom, and I was like, oh wow, I have a nice voice. And that was kind of like the origin of me wanting to pursue music in my life. But I didn't really get to take it seriously until middle school, which was a few years later, and I started playing violin in orchestra. And so that story is kind of funny because initially I wanted to play the tuba, which, if you can imagine, 11-year-old me is like a small, skinny kid wanting to play like this ginormous instrument at 11 years old. And my mom was like, how about you play the violin? And so I basically picked up the violin, ended up loving it, and I kind of stuck with it throughout my life. And then later on in life, I joined bands and sang background vocals for those bands. And then ultimately in 2018, decided to start my own project with my bass player, John Renault, who is basically the co-founder of this project, Lesibu Grand, that you see before you. And yeah, that's kind of how it evolved from me being interested to me having a band.
Awesome. Awesome. And so like when you start Lesibu Grand, it is like a band project. You're bringing other people in on it. It's not like all you or anything like that. But the earliest release you have is back in 2019 with Hush Hush. What about that song made you like confident enough or speak to like, okay, this is the one to like that we should release, or this is like our starting point?
It's funny you use the word confidence because I don't think I was even confident then. Maybe not even now, but definitely then it was more of a having to force myself to release something at that
Yeah.
point. And thankfully, I did have a songwriting partner, John Renault, who is the bassist as well. But he and I I brought that song actually pretty much fully written, but he did help me kind of like flesh it out and make it more structured, I guess you would say. And then our bandmates, Brian, Lee, and Chris at the time actually helped like formulate it. And it's like, we went into the studio and actually laid down the tracks and then put
Yeah.
it out. But to have the confidence to release a song, I think was kind of just, you know, you're going to be in a band, you have to release music, it kind of a thing. It's like, you can't,
Yeah.
I mean, you can, not release music, but it's kind of like, what's the point? So we kind of pushed ourselves to release that song, and I actually listen to it now and do think it's a really good song. Even though it was our first one of our, I didn't even realize that was the very first release. I thought um Miranda was, but yeah, you're right, actually. Hush Hush came out before that, which
Yeah.
is still a bop. So I
Well,
liked it.
I'm wondering, is that because Miranda was like created before, or were there songs that came before Hush Hush, like in the creative process that you felt like holding off or not releasing before?
Yes, there's actually one song in particular like that. It's neither Hush Hush or Miranda. It's a song called 1001 Butterflies, which we've played at a few of our live shows, but we have not released it yet. And so, the origin, I'm trying to answer your question. So
Yeah,
the
no worries.
starting point of us like releasing a song sometimes happens outside of like chronological order, if you will. And I think it just depends on our sound at the time and also just like what the world is going through too, because you don't want to come off as tone deaf when you're releasing like a dancey pop song. And then we had just like elected Donald Trump as president. So the timing didn't seem right to do that. So we do look at timing and, just our overall mood and our sound at the time. And I think right now we're in definitely like a punk sound, maybe like new wave punk. And in the hush hush days, we were more like synthy and new wave and not so
Mhm.
heavy. So our sounds definitely evolve, and I think our releases will too, as you see going forward too.
Awesome. Yeah. No, I think it happens to some degree with every band, and so it's just like sort of a natural process or evolution of every band. And so with like evolving your sound or like you said, getting heavier now or punkier, is that sort of what people can expect from this upcoming album Triggered, or what would you say fans can expect from this upcoming album?
I definitely would say expect a little bit more heavy sounds, but it's not all punk. And so throughout the album, I was kind of trying to tell a story with the song order. So, like in the beginning, it is very heavy, kind of dark, brooding, like triggered emotions you would think,
Yeah.
you could feel. And then throughout, it kind of flows into like coping mechanisms, if you will. And so by the end of it, you're kind of just like, taking it as it is, knowing that, you can't really change things in life. You can only change the things that are going to happen. So how you face those adversities, like this is the mood you should have going into it. I don't want to reveal too much about like
Yeah,
what,
no problem.
you know,
But by
the
the end, you're
details
hopefully
are,
not
but
as triggered anymore. You have these
exactly.
coping mechanisms and things that you know to employ if that ever comes across. And so was that, I guess, like where in the album process did you have the idea that that's what the story would be when you start organizing these songs, come up with the name Triggered? Like where in the process did this branding or like overarching message come from?
I think it kind of happened organically because the name of the album Triggered was actually something that I'd thought of maybe even years ago, I
Like,
want to
yeah,
say. It's just
like
like,
before the
oh,
music started.
right, it kind of. And so it is also a reflection of life from a personal perspective because I have gone through things that are triggering, as have most people. And I think that the songs kind of worked out in a way that I didn't anticipate. So when we like wrote a lot of these songs, it wasn't to be like, oh, these songs are going to tell this story. It's just kind of flowed naturally in that order. Um, and so, or I guess they didn't flow naturally in that order, but they just flowed out of us as far as like us playing and recording the music. But then putting them together was something that was kind of molded into that framing of being triggered. And so it just worked out for us, thankfully. And luckily, the bandmates liked it because I kind of picked the song order and I was like, I hope you guys approve because this is the order. And everybody thought, everyone's like unanimously thinks that it's a great order and it tells a good story and it does tie in with the triggered messaging.
Mhm, for sure. And with I mean, I'm sure any kind of band setting, but for Lesibu Grand specifically, like, is it normally you making those sort of executive decision calls, or do you take input from the rest of the band? How do you go about like decision making, combining like the perspectives of all five of
Five
you?
of
Is
us.
there? Five? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Got it.
totally.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's a valid question. And I would say, I think for primarily executive decisions, if for lack of a better term. I hate saying it
Yeah,
like that because I feel like bands are supposed to be musical and harmonious in
yeah.
nature, but obviously, realistically
Creative
speaking,
decisions.
yeah, creative decisions are usually brought to the table and then like ironed out by the rest of the bandmates. But as far as songwriting or even like video creation, like creative decisions, like you said, those usually come from myself or John. And then we do ask for buy-in from our bandmates because they're all really talented in their own ways as well. So we definitely value their opinions, but the creative direction does start with us. And sometimes it's more so his creative direction or vice versa. It'll be mine. But obviously, the name and the face is mine, so it's kind of hard
Yeah.
for me to be unbiased as far as like wanting to have more creative control. But yeah, I'd like to say we are a benevolent monarchy as a band. And I am the
Awesome.
queen, so hi.
Yeah. All hail. You know? Um,
Aw, yeah.
Hey, it's Heroek, and this episode is sponsored by me. Well, kind of. If you don't know, I recently started a clothing line called Quest Clothing, which you can shop right now. I'll leave some pictures here on the screen, but we got the core collection, which is just this sleek black and white design on a bunch of products. And then we also have some more like merch style stuff with cover arts for my songs and things like that. I've been wanting to do this for a long time, and I'm really excited that I now have it. And so expect a lot more collections, a lot more designs coming out soon. I'll leave a link to it down below, and if you want to stay up to date with any new releases or anything like that, follow at Shop Quest Clothing on Instagram. So go get cool designs like this, or even this, and you'll be helping me support all of this, the podcast, the music, everything. Plus, it just looks cool. We even got this nice big letter design on the back. Look at that. Look how cool that looks. So head to the link in the description to get yourself some Quest clothing, and make sure to follow at Shop Quest Clothing on Instagram for updates with new collections and stuff like that. And now back to the episode.
but for like coming up with, songs or song lyrics, things like that, is it a similar thing where it's typically you or John coming in, like who's normally coming in like, hey, I have this idea for a song, and I'm sure it's collaborative and bringing all the perspectives into, like you said, iron it out and make it, but who's usually like kickstarting things or bringing in the idea?
It depends on the song. I would say at this stage, it might be evenly split as far as how many songs we've made up until this point since like 2018. And so whether it's like me bringing an entire song that already has verses, lyrics, and basic chords, and I just say, hey, this is what the song is, this is what it sounds like, or in other times where I try to play at my hand in the production arena and just like bring a demo that's like very rough, and then we kind of iron it out from there. It happens both ways from both myself and John. And actually, in the last song on the album was brought to us by our drummer, and he kind of did that where he had the song structure kind of there, but there were no lyrics. And so we came up with the lyrics and we came up with the chorus and kind of built on it that way. So that is the one exception to it being myself or John bringing something to the table. But yeah, that's usually how it goes. And I would say it's
Yeah.
pretty even.
Awesome. And so if there's, whether it's any of the band decisions we've talked about, like releasing a first song, balancing like personalities and perspectives, if there's like some other band listening who's like just getting started, what tips or advice would you give to like an up and coming band?
I feel like we're still an up and coming band, but I
Yeah,
would
but
love to
like
give
like
advice.
real like
Yeah,
foundational
no,
days, like have like waiting on
totally.
the first release, that kind of deal.
100%.
Or
I would
anything you've
say
learned from your career so far.
100%. I would say that don't be so hard on yourself if, you know, things aren't perfect. I have to tell myself that even today. And also just have confidence in your ideas because 90% of the time you're your biggest critic. And so, ideally, in a band setting, you're able to just be open and bring your ideas to the group and people will receive them. So just be open with your bandmates, try to hear constructive feedback rather than taking it personally. And also just be confident in your own ideas as well. Like if you think something is good, then you should fight for it if it's something that is supposed to be from your creative point of view. So I don't know if
Awesome.
that's too much advice or not enough, but that's what I would say.
I think it's perfect. I think it's just the right amount.
Cool.
And so, going back, I guess, a little bit to that kind of early days of Lesibu Grand, where does that name come from? I know Lesibu is like your middle name and it's passed down through your family, but where does the Grand come from? Like putting it all together for this band name, what was the decision like behind that or that process?
So that process was actually very fun. And it was like an email chain with all of our band and we had like a list that I think each of us came up with 5 names or something, and then we compiled our list and then narrowed down the list from there. And obviously,
Mhm.
one of the top names was Lesibu Grand, or it might have been Grand Lesibu at the time, because at one point it was switched and we switched it to Lesibu Grand. And then we also had a close second place contender, which I kind of wanted was the Simones, because my name is Tyler-Simone, and we were kind
Mhm.
of trying to do like the Ramones with our sound.
Yeah, I was about to say like a Ramones kind of
And
vibe.
exactly, but we were going to be disappointing people if we didn't do Simone or Ramones covers, so we opted out. And then Band of Weirdos was also another name, so we almost ended up with either of the other two. But we ultimately decided that Lesibu Grand was a name that flowed nicely together. And like I said, it was Grand Lesibu initially because the grand piece actually comes from my other family member, which is my grandmother, who we call Grand Sandra. And
Okay.
so we put Grand Lesibu instead of Grand Sandra, and then we were like, let's flip it, and we have Lesibu Grand. So
Yeah, no, that's
that's the
awesome.
story.
I've talked to like bands in the past, which you guys remind me of, who are like they wanted their band names to like just like sound like a name of something, like things like that. And so
Exactly.
like I feel like Lesibu Grand just like could be like someone's name, like Lesibu Grand, or even Grand Lesibu sounds like, I mean, I don't even know. Like it sounds like something. Like it's out
It
there. Like
does.
it wouldn't confuse me hearing it. Like I would just immediately believe that it's something. I'm interested. So was
Thanks.
there like, I mean, you mentioned some of those options, but was the like, because it's coming from your name, was there ever a possibility of just naming it like Lesibu or some quick thing like that? Or was it always kind of like looking for a bigger name like Lesibu Grand and things like that?
Well, because I knew this wasn't ever going to be a solo project, I did want it
Mhm.
to be something besides just my name. And that
Yeah.
is another reason why the Simones was like a little too close to home. But I think Lesibu Grand now has started to take on a more personified meaning just because I am like facially representing the band. But also, people do think my name is Lesibu Grand, and I'll have people be like, Lesibu Grand. I'm like, actually, my name's Tyler, but yeah, Lesibu Grand's a band, but it's not just me, but it kind
Yeah.
of is, and it kind of isn't. It's just so confusing, but
Yeah.
also exciting to keep people on their toes. But Lesibu Grand is, I think, something that might be bigger than all of us one day. Let's hope.
Yeah.
Here's to hoping.
Well, I guess, I mean, feel free to, if you like, can't talk about it if there aren't plans for this at all. But once Triggered comes out, are there any plans for shows or a tour or anything like that?
So we're having our upcoming show for the album release. It's happening on August 23rd. So anyone listening who is in Atlanta, I don't know if this will be out after the 23rd, hopefully not. But
Probably not. Yeah.
okay, cool. But yeah, August
The
23rd.
goal hopefully is to get it out even before Triggered comes out, and then like hopefully
Cool.
at the latest around that same time. So it should definitely be out
Sounds
before
cool.
the album release party.
Awesome. Well, yeah, that's our next show. And then there's another possible show happening in October in Atlanta, but we are definitely open to playing a lot more shows in a lot more places because we do have people listening to us from various places outside of Atlanta, which is amazing and super grateful for that. So my
Yeah.
hope and dream would be to do a tour eventually. Maybe we'll play in Rhode Island one day even.
Awesome. Yeah. I no, it was like, I was thinking like, because people get it all confused. If you want to see Lesibu Grand, if you want to know who Lesibu Grand is, what they're about, go see them live. Go see shows wherever you can, whenever they're performing, if they're in your area. But going back to like closer to when the band started, what was the first like Lesibu Grand show like, or the first time you guys like all performed together?
So our first unofficial show was
Hmm.
actually a Porch Fest in Oakhurst, which is a little neighborhood in Atlanta. And I actually love that show a lot. It was very chill, and I was like super nervous because it was my first show that I was singing lead for, and the pressure was real, but thankfully everybody came out listening and enjoying the music. And then we had our first official club show at the Earl, which is ironic because that's where we're having our album release show. But the Earl is a very good venue in
Bringing it
Atlanta
full
that,
circle.
yeah, exactly, gotta close the story. But yeah, having that show at the Earl for our first show was just like it made me feel like, oh wow, this is real because you're in a venue with like the lights, the club vibe, it's like
Yeah.
tickets at the door. It just, it seals the deal for it being like a legit thing. So yeah, I would say I had some really lucky experiences initially. And then yeah, I'm excited to play this show too.
Hey, if you're like me and you're interested in the YouTube or creator space, you should check out The Published Press. The Published Press is a completely free newsletter founded by YouTubers Colin and Samir. They host their own podcast talking to some of YouTube's largest creators. They've edited some of the best content I've seen on YouTube, and now they're sharing their knowledge about the YouTube space with you for free. The Published Press comes out 3 times a week, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, with everything going on with your favorite creators and platforms. And like I said, it's completely free. Just enter your email address to receive the Published Press whenever it comes out, and that's it. So, what are you waiting for? Click the link in the description below, sign up to the Published Press, and get all the info you need on the industry.
Staying on the topic of performing live, you said that you really liked that first show. Maybe it's that one. Anything else? Is there a show or even just a moment from a show that really like sticks in your mind or that you just love like remembering or thinking about?
Yeah, I think, hmm, this is funny. You would think that I have thought about what my favorite show was, but I literally never have. Um, the one that's popping out to me is the Afropunk show we did in 2022, I believe it was, or maybe it was 21, and it might have been right after the pandemic. So yeah, 2021,
Awesome.
Afropunk Atlanta. It was amazing. We got to like play and share the stage with like Rico Nasty and like Fouché, and it was like just a
Awesome.
very cool day. We had like the 5-star treatment from Afropunk, which was really cool. And like the fans there were also really receptive and encouraging. So it was all in all a great show. And I do like shows with a lot of energy from the fans as well as, the band. And the sound was good. There were, no complaints. And yeah, I would say 10 out of 10, great show.
Yeah, awesome. And so you mentioned it there like being banned during the pandemic, I'm sure must have had an effect on you guys or changed the way that you guys are working. What was that time like? Because you formed beforehand and you're obviously still together and performing and making music afterwards, but that time where it's like, trying to social distance and things like that, how did that change the dynamic of the band, if it changed anything at all?
It did actually. So sadly, during that time, not to say, I'm saying this and hearing myself say it before it came out. So one of our bandmates, we switched out our keys player. And so
Okay.
that was the change, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
because we had someone who was like super, cautious, rightfully so, but it just didn't really blend well with all the precautions the rest of the bands were taking. So we ended up having to bring in a new keys player, and we were key playerless for a while there. And then we brought in Warren, which I call him Waru, and he's a ball of joy and a bundle of energy, and he's a great keys player. And so, but yeah, we found them during the pandemic, which is a whole another story in and of itself. But the band actually grew during the pandemic, surprisingly, because we were able to kind of adapt our set to a virtual show. And during that time, you saw a lot of studios and people who had like home studios just converting their studios into like a performance venue for virtual streaming. And so we kind of rode that train and started getting a lot more exposure because we're not just playing shows in Atlanta, we're playing literally to the internet. So people started
Yeah.
actually like seeing us more, which was cool for us. And then, once we got to start playing live shows again, it was just like a uphill trajectory in a good way. So
Yeah, awesome that you guys took that opportunity because it seems to go like one of two ways with I mean artists as well, like anybody, but bands especially, like it's either sort of like they're used to all getting together in a studio and maybe like put that on pause for a while, or like they accepted this like social media live streaming era and like that helped them boost it up. So I'm glad that it helped you guys more than hurt you despite the personnel change. And with like on that same train, are you going forward like super accepting of all the like social media promotion, virtual concerts, things like that, or what is your view on that in general?
So my preference is like in-person shows because I think it's
Yeah.
kind of difficult. And I was actually going to bring that up about virtual performances. It's difficult for you to connect with an audience when your audience
Oh,
is
definitely.
virtual. So like the energy of a live show is just unmatched. But I do think it's really cool that the people that might not even have heard of you now have the chance to hear of you because of the internet and because of social media. So I think when it's used in those positive ways, then I can't help but to see the good in it. But as a traditional, like, going to concerts type of girl, I definitely prefer the live show performances to the virtual ones, but I do appreciate the virtual ones.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure. And so I mean, before this, I've been listening to just like a bunch of the stuff you guys have released in the past. I got the chance to get a sneak peek of Triggered, this upcoming album. It's all great, but like I mean, all of these songs, or a lot of them have very like would seem to be honest lyrics or like telling a story of things that you or other people in the band have experienced before. And I'm curious as to like something with a song like Jennifer, My Girl, is that about like a specific person you have in mind or more of a like hypothetical situation or character?
So Jennifer My Girl is actually in honor of my little sister, Jennifer, and
Awesome.
I wrote that song during a time where it seemed like she was going through, not to put her business on Front Street, but it was more of like a comforting song to say,
Yeah.
don't wear the weight of the world's burdens on your shoulders. And so that message can be applied to a universal, application. It doesn't have to just mean that for her, but I think it does symbolize things in our own lives that we kind of overthink or take too much responsibility for. And so that was the specific person, though, I had in
Yeah.
mind when writing it. And now it's just like Jennifer can be all of us at sometimes.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. And then you also like I mean right now like just when I went over to your Spotify to check it out, Hawk Glue Gun is I'm pretty sure your guys' most streamed song with over 48,000 streams. Was there
Nice.
anything about that song that like tipped you off that it might be like the big one or anything like that, or was it just like another release for you guys?
So that is so funny that it's our number one song because I think that's my favorite song to play live, or at least it used to be because I used to
Awesome.
like play the
That's the
tambourine on
dream
it.
combo.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, yay, I'm validated. But I didn't anticipate it doing so well. And maybe now that I think about it, I should have anticipated it just because of the music video and it's so colorful. It has like the reference of a Power Ranger because I wear like the pink Power Ranger outfit. I like
Yeah.
turned Donald Trump into a Cheeto. And so that's very on brand now too. It kind of can make a comeback in a way because we have this election coming up. So there's that.
Yeah.
Not
True.
to bring it to the politics of things, but
Yeah, we don't have to get too far into that, but like yeah, and it shows that it's all topical. It's about like the moment when you guys or the world in general is going through.
yeah.
And now like your latest release, I'm pretty sure parts of the this upcoming album Triggered, you put out Emotional Disguise and Anarchy. What like for those songs, are they like you mentioned the album kind of going through a journey? Are they the heavier side of the record, the like lighter coming to terms side, or I guess just in general, how well do they encapsulate the album?
So Anarchy, I believe, is song number 4 on the album, and Emotional Disguise is 7. And so Anarchy obviously happens first.
Yeah.
So that is a heavier sounding song, and it is obviously in the title. Anarchy is a little bit more like punk rock themed. But that song was actually written in during the pandemic, speaking of the pandemic. And I was just like frustrated of being inside the house for so long. And so I just like
Yeah.
came up with a bass riff for that one and then made the lyrics and it was kind of just like off the rip. So that's an example of something that I didn't realize was going to be where it is now when it was written. Because, the album's coming out in 2024, that was written in 2020. So time flies when
Yeah.
you're having fun. Anyway, with emotional disguise though, that is going to be a little bit more melodic. Obviously, you've listened to it, so you can hear the difference of the sound.
Yeah, definitely.
And as far as lyrically, though, that is one that John actually brought to the table, and I kind of just like helped here and there with melody pieces. But the song itself does convey more of a sentimental feeling during it's more of like a processing of emotions. So you're going through a happy feeling,
Hmm.
sadness, tears of joy, all those things. And so you do kind of process the emotions as you're going through them. Whereas earlier on, you're just mad and you're just ignited. So,
Yeah, so a little bit of like both sides of the album, I guess. Awesome.
exactly.
And was that the intention to like show or yeah, show listeners like the different sides of it, or were they just like the two songs you think would best fit singles?
A little, actually, mostly the second thing. So
Yeah.
now that you say that, that is the good thing that is, it's a residual benefit that we did not
Yeah, yeah,
anticipate.
there's
So
it just works out like that.
yeah, but yeah, I think we just picked those two for music video purposes as well. Because we typically release our singles with music videos, and so those were two songs that we did have ideas for music videos as well. So we did pick those based on that. In addition to thinking they would do strong and like people would like the sounds compared to some of the other songs that are maybe a little more experimental or not really yeah, a little more experimental, I guess I would say.
Are you a music artist trying to find a way to get your music on as many streaming platforms as possible? Then check out DistroKid. DistroKid is a super user-friendly and super easy-to-use service that will make your music available in stores like Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, Amazon Music, YouTube, Snapchat, everything. Everything you could imagine, it's available. People will even be able to add your songs into their Instagram stories. DistroKid helps you with the distribution, monetization, and promotion of all of your music. Use the link in the description of this video for 7% off any DistroKid package you want. Pick from musician packages designed to help artists get their own music out there, or even get a label package where you can manage up to 100 artists from one profile. So that's more for like managers, labels, and you can also get the musician package that I mentioned earlier, which is more for artists, producers, things like that. It's super easy, and you can get 7% off any package right now with the link in the description of this video. So once again, if you're looking for a way to get your music on as many streaming platforms as possible, I'm talking any platform you can think of, get DistroKid and get 7% off right now with the link in the description. Back to the program.
And with this, like, I mean, we keep talking about it, like punkier sound that you guys are getting into. Is that, are you taking inspiration from other artists? Are you finding things that like you want to sound like, or is it mostly just your own like unique sound, or like all of the bandmates coming together?
I think it's a little bit of both.
Hmm.
We all definitely have our own backgrounds. Like I was classically trained for violin. We have like jazz musicians. We have music school musicians. We have people that just came out the
A bit
gutter
of
playing on their own.
everything.
Exactly. But then you do have songs in the albums that do have that recognition. So we have some like Cars sounding songs on there with like Heartbreak Blue. And then maybe like Pixies with uh you know some of the heavier songs that are more trippy and experimental. Um but we do derive our influences from a lot of that era, so like late 70s, early 80s, like new wave punk basically.
Yeah, awesome. Awesome. And whether it's a single from this new album, anything you've released in the past, if there's someone who hasn't heard of you who wants to get into Lesibu Grand, what's a song you would recommend as like a first listen or an introduction to
Mm.
Lesibu Grand?
Oh wow, that's such a hard.
And feel
Okay,
free to
so
just like name a bunch because I know it's always hard to like have just one because you like most bands do so much and have so many different sounds that like one song won't fit it all. But if you guys
right.
would just like name a couple recommendations.
Well, I would definitely have to recommend the latest releases, Anarchy and Emotional Disguise. I would say if you're not really heavy into rock music, but you still want to check us out, I would check out Mi Sueño, which is my dream in Spanish. And so that song is more like jazzy than anything else. It's not really rock at all. But if you want a light intro to us and then you're willing to take a chance after hearing that song, then listen to Mi Sueño. And I would also say Hot Glue Gun because it is our top song and it's a good song.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, that's amazing. And so going forward, I mean, hopefully Triggered is it people find you guys, you grow your audience, you're following from that. Looking forward beyond that, is there like any ideal level you guys have for this band, or are you ready to just like take it as far as it'll go?
I think we'll take it as far as it'll go. I know things will probably evolve over time just because that's the way life works, but I definitely think that we have more music to share with the world. So this is not the last you'll hear of us. But
Definitely.
definitely, listen to this album and hopefully you guys love it. And yeah, enjoy.
Awesome. Yeah, yeah. And from, I mean, your perspective, obviously, some of the other bandmates may have other answers, but if Lesibu Grand got this opportunity to collaborate with another band or artist on a song, who would you want to work with?
Ooh, that's so hard. Um,
And for
so
all
the
these kind of like hypothetical questions, like always feel free to name a bunch, and like it doesn't literally just
yeah.
have to be the one.
Well, the band that's starting to it's not even a band, artist. She is on the same label as us. And so I'm like, oh, maybe it's a possibility. But Kate Nash, she's a British musician and she has a great voice and she's very indie. I think our voices could, go well together. And I think we could bring a little bit more like sauciness to the indie stuff. So
Awesome.
yeah, maybe
Yeah,
her.
awesome. It's great that you're on the same level. There's already a connection there. So,
I mean, I wouldn't go as far to say that. We're just on the same label.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Not, yeah. There's like what is it like levels of connection or like steps of connection. Like
Right.
there's something connecting you two. It's not true like randomness, which helps. Um,
Yeah.
and
Degrees of separation, I think they call
That
it.
yeah, that's it. That's
Yeah, it's
thank you
all
for
good.
that. And so like in I guess a similar way, like do you have a bucket list of like venues or festivals that you would want to perform at?
I would love to play at Coachella because who wouldn't? I would love
Yeah.
to play at Music Midtown because that's an Atlanta festival and I'm an ATLian through and through. Um, and then like as far as like dream venues like Madison Square Garden, the
Yeah. Yeah.
who
No,
doesn't want to
it's
do that?
yeah, like it's just one of those venues that's like it seems like anyone has gone there at some point and it's like there's just so much history in there.
Of course. And
Yeah.
I mean, but in all reality, I'm just grateful that the venues that we have played at have let us play there. And I think that there are a lot of great venues at all sizes, but um, we dream big. So
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely. And yeah, I mean, you mentioned it earlier. It could be Hot Glue Gun, but if there's a song of Lesibu Grand's that's like your favorite to listen to just on a daily basis, what song would that be?
mm, there is a song that comes up in like what song is it? I'm gonna have to cheat because I need to
Yeah,
see
no
my
problem,
like
no
song.
problem. Go ahead.
There's like a song that literally comes up in my playlist all the time. It might be Miranda. If it's not, okay, let's see. Here's Lesibu Grand. I've only like $7 songs. Hmm. It might be Miranda. I just like
Miranda.
Miranda.
Yeah,
I also think that's a
awesome.
really cool music video. We went to outer space and it was amazing. I don't know if you've seen it, but if not, you should check it out.
I don't think I have. I saw I think Anarchy one,
Um,
which was awesome. And
Also in outer space,
yeah, yeah, that whole like almost like cartoon or like
Jane
animated look
Jetson.
of it,
Yeah.
that it was awesome. And so yeah, and I mean, you mentioned like coming up on playlists and things like that, and looking through your phone, because I feel like I have that same moment. There's like a song when like it changes all the time, obviously, but like whatever song I'm listening to, and like the moment someone asks me about it, it just like leaves my head, and I have to check my phone for it. Like when you're just like listening to music, shuffling whatever playlist it is, who are just some of your favorite like bands or artists to listen to?
So I love Daft Punk. They're probably my favorite band ever, just because Daft Punk, duh. And I listen to a lot of music, so it just depends on the time of year, how
Yeah.
I'm feeling, what's going on. But of course, like the classics, Bob Marley, like, uh Brothers Johnson band, Strawberry Letter 23. Who else? Erica Badu was actually like one of my early
Oh,
CDs.
awesome.
I think it might have been my first CD. So I still listen to Erica Badu. Solange, I think she's amazing. I listen to her album on repeat. But yeah, lately I've been doing a lot of music making, so I haven't listened as much
Yeah.
with my heavy playlist listing. But those are like a lot of the artists that I
Yeah,
listen
no
to.
problem. Lesibu Grand's the other one. I
Lesibu
guess
Grand,
you could say that. Yeah.
obviously, the my band.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever
Awesome.
watched, or this is a quick little anecdote about
Yeah,
Aziz
go ahead.
Ansari. Do you know him or seen any of his
I
stand-up?
know of him, yes. I'm not like a huge fan
I know
from
he's
like watching of.
controversial now. Back before he became, oh no, it says my internet connection is unstable. So maybe I should just not talk about Aziz Ansari. I think he's spamming me. But
Yeah.
he made a joke
They're
about
trying to shut
Kanye
you down.
West.
They're trying to shut you down. They're like, "No, please."
I was like, please don't bring him up. It's like, don't do it. It's gonna tarnish the brand. But yeah, I he made a joke about Kanye West listening to his own music and it just made me laugh. So the end.
Yeah. No, it's funny. I feel like because I mean, there are like I think a band that I really like. I'm actually wearing a shirt for them right now. 21 Pilots.
Oh
Like the
yeah.
singer from there, Tyler, has talked about. He's like, yeah, I love listening to our own stuff. Like in the car, I'll have it like windows down, blasting. I'm a big fan. And then there are other
Oh
bands or artists I've heard of or even talked to on here who like feel like they can't listen to their own stuff or things like that, and are big fans of like a bunch of other people, and really
yeah.
just like they listen to their stuff like while making it, while it's coming out, and then like after the release it's basically
It's
just like
done.
when they perform it or rehearse it.
Yeah, you don't want to
Because you're
wear
like,
yourself out of your own music
well,
because then
yeah,
it's like,
it's like you're getting all this exposure to it and listening to it before it's even released. So by the time it's released, it's like, I don't want to say old to them, but like you've heard it, you know.
yeah. You try
Awesome.
to listen through unobjective ears, and I feel like you have to wait years later before you can do that because, like you said, it's just like repetition for so long. It just, you can't unsee things when you're creating something. And so you just
Yeah.
see the deconstruction part of it and not the full picture.
Yeah, no, it's even to the point of like when I'm listening to my own stuff, I sometimes think back to like production decisions I've made, or like remembering like sitting down at a desk with like the DAW that I use up on the screen. And so it's like it's hard to, when it's your own stuff, I think just listen to listen. Like other artists, I listen and it's just enjoying the music, all that. Obviously, if I'm into it, like trying to listen to the background to like different instruments and things like that. But like when it's my own stuff, it's all just like thinking back to the creation process of it rather than the final product.
Yeah.
And so just a little segment I wanted to do to end off our talk is, well, first of all, thank you so much for coming on. It's been a great time, but I do the segment called Know Your Stuff, where I'm gonna play just a couple snippets of Lesibu Grand songs, and it's one part just like naming them, seeing if you know it, and also feel free to bring up any stories about how it was made, playing it live, anything that maybe we didn't get to touch on in the interview portion.
Yay, I'm super excited. This is like my favorite game of all time for any music. So let's
Awesome.
do it.
Yeah, like it's like that. It's like a whole spin on the like name that tune kind of game.
Yes.
All right, here we go.
Watch me lose.
No pressure.
Me. Jennifer, my girl. So wait,
Yeah.
am I supposed to answer while the music is playing and then
I'll play it for a couple seconds. You
okay.
answer as soon as you know it. Once it
Okay.
stops, whenever feels comfortable for you.
I'll just go
Um,
for it.
yeah, yeah, sounds good. But yeah, so Jennifer, my girl, we talked about it a bit earlier, but if there's anything extra that you wanted to get into or talk about, feel free to do that.
Yeah, so fun fact, Jennifer My Girl was originally Ginger My Girl, which Ginger was the name of my Cocker Spaniel who has since passed away, but
Mm.
I did change the name of the song because I was writing it and then it started forming into something else more dealing with my sister than
Yeah.
my dog. So yeah, that's a funny story though.
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe is there ever a chance of like a reworked version for like, like a My Girl Ginger's version or anything like that?
Not as of yet, but
Yeah.
TBD.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, the next one I have for you is
What you think of me? Too
I
easy.
had to put it in there. I mean, I listened to it and it was awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, that music video was really fun to make, actually. Sailor Face did some really cool video VFX and Nathan Ducange also directed, did a very good job, very collaborative effort, and I got to be Jane Jetson, which was fun.
Yeah.
Even though I was kind of like a dictator type, but I think I found my piece at the end of the video. I don't know if you watched the music video or if you just listened to the song, but at the end we do a little Fight Club reference, which
Yeah.
I'm breaking the rules of Fight Club by saying Fight Club, but YOLO.
Yeah, yeah. You got to go for it at that point. I am just a quick note from before now that I'm looking through. I knew which songs I wanted to bring up. I went back on your Spotify to pull it up. Haklugan, second most streamed as far as I could tell. WFS is number one. And so
Yeah,
yeah, another great song. Just go check it all out. It's all there on Spotify for you. Lesibu Grand. Go check it out. But the last one that I have for you for this segment is
oh, not sweet enough.
yeah. Yeah.
Yay! What do I win?
You know your stuff. There you
Yay!
go.
A pat on the
You
back.
you
I'll
get
take it.
bragging rights. Yeah.
Amazing. But yeah, Not Sweet Enough, also a really good music video to watch. And great song. That song was a little bit more edgy and heavy, if you can tell by the lyrics. And yeah, it just was more so speaking out on the inequality with like women's rights. And there's a reference to one of the Roe v. Wade decisions that was overturned back like a few years ago when they did it in Georgia, which is my state, obviously. And yeah, we were pretty astonished by that. So yeah, this song came out of it.
Reasonably so.
Yeah, it was just like wild times. I mean, still here, but hopefully things will
Yeah.
change for the better.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's I'm hopefully that's the case everywhere. But yeah,
Exactly.
that was great. You, like I said, officially know your stuff. So thank you so much for coming on. I feel like I've learned a lot about you personally and the band as a whole. And yeah, I can't wait for everyone to hear Triggered upcoming on August 16th. If there's anything else you want to shout out, promote, anything like that, feel free to do it now. Let people know where you can find and where they can find you. Anything like that. Go ahead.
Yeah. I do want to say thank you so much for having me, and it's been a pleasure getting to know you as well. Hope we
Yeah,
get to talk again soon. Maybe we'll see you in New
definitely.
York.
Yeah.
And for those of you who are listening to us or hearing about us for the first time, thanks so much for supporting and give Triggered a listen after August 16th on all streaming platforms and follow us at Lesibu Grand, Lesibu, everywhere that you are. So see y'all around.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll leave a link to some of that down below. Go check it out. Spotify, Instagram, and it's all down there. Thank you so much again for coming on. And yeah, it's been a great time.
Definitely. Thank you. Peace.
Here we go.